Trump, neither Europe nor UK nor Ukraine are priorities for him. He is actually, when you are opening his national security strategy, you clearly see what is the priorities of US. The priorities are in the Pacific and China, and that's why he will not support Europe. And he said it honestly, even before his inauguration as a president. He said that my main priority is in the Pacific.
Ukraine, it could be days away from receiving around 100 billion euros from the EU and the UK to stay in the war with Russia and keep that country going. It's a game-changing sum of money, and Ukraine needs it. Look at what President Trump is saying now, and Ukraine's need may be about to get much bigger. The president used an interview to attack European leaders as weak and for governing what he called decaying countries. Now, quite apart from another attack on supposed allies and fellow members of NATO, his scorn also looks like a sign of irritation that European leaders, like Ukraine, have not been willing to offer Vladimir Putin more by way of compromises and concessions in the hope of a peace deal. A revised set of peace proposals agreed between the leaders of Ukraine, France, Germany and the UK in Downing Street yesterday are on their way to Washington. Now, is anyone betting much at all that President Trump would agree to apply more pressure on Putin to agree a deal that respects Ukraine's territory and sovereignty? Anyone at all? Now, in the last hour, Russia's representative at the UN, Vasily Nebendia, he has been joining President Trump in his criticism of Europe and the UK.
Kiev's European backers are concerned, of course, not about the fate of Ukraine, nor about its dignity. These are all fairy tales for pink ponies and guppy fish, as the Ukrainian blogosphere calls the credulous Ukrainian populace. What London, Paris and Berlin seek is to win time to prepare for war with Russia.
That's Russia's representative at the UN. And meanwhile, what does all this high-level circular diplomacy mean at the harsh end, at reality, on the battlefield, in the towns and cities of Ukraine? We're going to be talking about that. And so far, I've been talking to Phillips O'Brien, who's Professor of Strategic Studies at St Andrews, about what giving up territory really means.
Handing over to Russia legally, which is what Trump is talking about, is a catastrophe for Europe. Handing over the unconquered territory is just giving a gift to an aggressor. It's basically saying to Putin, you can't take this territory, even though you've lost over 1 million soldiers, but still we're going to find a way to get it to you. And for Ukraine, that would be devastating. It would be devastating to lose the fortress line, but it would also be devastating politically. It means that you can be set up for failure in the future and give up more territory. So it just seems to me from the Ukrainian point of view, that has to be a non-starter. And it should be a non-starter for all of Europe. I mean, if European states are actually forcing Ukraine to hand over some territory to Russia that the Russians haven't seized, they are opening up a can of worms, and I don't think there will be any coming back for it for post-1945 Europe.
That's Professor Phillips O'Brien. Now, welcome to the programme, Maxim Tucker, the Times Ukraine correspondent, whose dispatch from the Donbass is there online at thetimes.com now. Maxim, good to have you on.
Good to see you.
So, Maxim, you have now written then about your conversations with Ukrainian soldiers and their commanders fighting against heavy odds on the front line and a huge volume of incoming Russian drones. I mean, what did you make of what you saw and heard? How are they coping with that?
Well, it's increasingly difficult and dangerous on the front lines to be anywhere within 30 kilometers of the zero line, because this is the range of first-person view drones, which is increasing steadily, actually, as technology develops. And these soldiers are basically hunkered underground. It's very difficult to reach them, to talk to them. But we were lucky enough to get into Kramatorsk and speak to some of these soldiers who are holding the fortress belt that Phillips O'Brien mentioned there, this crucial defensive line which Putin wants Trump and Zelensky to hand to him.
And these first-person drones, forgive my ignorance of the sort of military jargon, are these the guided drones that are watched by camera and guided towards a target? What are they?
Right. So if you're a first-person view pilot, you've got a kind of virtual reality goggles on your head, and you're guiding your drone with an explosive munition attached to it into a target. It's a very kind of personal weapon. You really follow the target, right? You know, if that's an individual soldier, you see the expression on their face as the drone impacts them, you can see the car very, and these are very high definition cameras relaying back, and they also use for propaganda purposes. So you can record the kills that you have and post it on your Telegram or YouTube channel, and lots of people are seeing, and it has a very intimidating effect on people. People do not want to go to the front line and be killed by a drone in the last moments of their lives, being televised back to their families.
And these are the weapons that have been compared to video games, only lethal. And you write really interestingly about the problem of desertion and how that is impacting the fight on the front line.
Right, so this ongoing uncertainty over what's going to happen to the Donbass and the idea that the Donbass might be given away is making it really difficult for Ukrainian soldiers to conceive of why they might risk their lives in defending it. And I think this has been a problem for Ukraine actually since 2014, when Putin first launched his hybrid invasion of the Donbass, is that a lot of people in central and western Ukraine don't see the Donbass as somewhere that they care about, somewhere that they want to defend. And they still struggle to see the bigger picture, that if Russia comes through the Donbass, then it will come into the rest of Ukraine. And so this is having a real impact on morale. There are desertions. One brigade commander that I spoke to me said that, out of 100 troops that might disappear from his unit, 1 or 2 of them are being killed, some are being wounded, some are sick, but the vast majority now are deserters. They're leaving their posts from the front line. They just can't take the idea that they might be killed for a pointless cause.
Well, really, really interested to hear from you, Maxim. And as I say, your piece is there to be read now on thetimes.com. Now, hello to Yulia Sirko now, who's an MP in the opposition Holos Party in Kyiv. Yulia, welcome to the programme.
Hello from Kyiv.
Yulia, just in the last few moments, we're hearing news that the Prime Minister of Ukraine is announcing that more street lighting and outdoor advertising in city centres will be cut due to the country's shortage of energy. So more darkness, more of what used to be normal life, as it were, disappearing. Although now it seems inconceivable to someone like me in a place like London. But this must feel like normal life, Yulia.
Yes, for us it's normal life, and it's already 4 years of this life after full-scale invasion. But also we have war, not even 4 years. We have 12 years starting 2014. So for many people who lost their homes, who lost their families, who are internally displaced people or refugees abroad Ukraine, the discussions about the concessions of territories or any kind of concessions from Ukrainian side are very painful, and most probably will not lead anywhere, because 70% of Ukrainians are against these concessions. I understand that on the front line it's looking completely different, but in general Ukrainians are not going to do concessions of their territories. First of all, because it's impossible legally, and the second because Putin for 4 years of full-scale invasion took only 0.5% of the territories and lost 1 million of his soldiers. So I mean, this is the very stupid war. Yes, that's why he is targeting civilians inside the country, mostly energy infrastructure, and it's leading to the shortage of deficit of energy. That's why we have blackouts for at least 10 hours per day and even more. And that's why advertising is not a priority for us, as well as, for example, lights on the street. So yes, we are living partly on a blackouts, but it doesn't mean that we are going to do concessions.
Well, I hear loud and clear what you're saying and hearing how you describe the mood of Ukrainians. Now, I mean, with all that in mind, when you say that talk of concessions to Putin is painful, that was your word, what do you make about hearing of President Trump criticizing Zelensky and European leaders for refusing to make more and bigger concessions?
Yes, because for Trump, neither Europe nor UK nor Ukraine are priorities. For him, he is actually, when you are opening his national security strategy, you clearly see what is the priorities of US. The priorities are in the Pacific and China, and that's why he will not support Europe. And he said it honestly, even before his his inauguration as a president. He said that my main priority is in the Pacific. So that's why he will, I'm saying it to my colleagues in the different parliaments in Europe, that you have to think how we will protect our continent without US. Because Trump is obviously looking so to say, looking at his big picture without Ukraine, without the European Union, and even without UK. His priorities are completely different.
And sitting, as you describe, in 10 hours of blackouts in a day, and these rough conditions being normal in Ukraine. It's difficult to describe anything as being ground for celebration, but the 100 billion euros, which seem to be coming your way from Europe and Britain, how does that feel? That must feel a bit like a lifeline, a ray of light.
Yes, but you know, Ukrainians are, I mean, there are a lot of different people in Ukraine, and Ukrainians are mostly, yes, they are struggling, they are tired, but they are proud of their country. We are proud of our army, we are proud of our country, and despite we have even corruption scandals recently, but still we're, I mean, it's a huge country of normal people who are living normal life with their kids in Ukraine, with a blackout, and hoping and doing everything to fight the second biggest army in the world by themselves, basically, without no boots, foreign boots on the ground, but with the help of our partners as well as UK, with a weapon and technologies. Yes, and that's for that we are very grateful, actually, and we hope that we will fight for not only for Ukraine but also for European continent and the most experienced army in European continent against this Russian plug, I would say.
All right, Yulia, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. Yulia Sirko, a Ukrainian MP in the opposition Holos Party, speaking to us from Kyiv.